an LA football podcast.
Touchdown Rams! Touchdown UCLA! Recovered by the Chargers. The Trojans back in front. Touchdown Wildcats.
With your host, Ryan Dyrud, on the Believe Podcast Network and LAFBnetwork.com. This is your destination for Los Angeles football.
What's up, Los Angeles football fans? Welcome back to the Believe in LA Football Podcast here on the Believe Podcast Network, also on LAFBnetwork.com, your destination for all your favorite Los Angeles football teams, Rams, Chargers, Bruins, and Trojans. Always talking football, always LA football. Happy Thursday to you. Got a great show on the docket. Have a great guest for you. Newly drafted kicker for the Los Angeles Rams, Samuel Sloman, is going to join the show. Second all-MAC. Great kicker. One of three taken the entire draft. So excited to chat with him, let you get to know him a little bit, his draft journey during this crazy time, and what he plans on bringing to L.A., to the Rams. So I had a fun conversation with Samuel, so we'll get to that soon. Schedules release tonight. It's always kind of a big deal, even though we already know the opponents. It seems to always draw a lot of excitement, especially now, considering what's going on. When the schedules are released, so at least you know when our teams play what teams. We already know the opponents, but you'll see the actual dates. We'll kind of touch on the Rams and Chargers briefly. I might go through a few opponents I'm looking forward to. We have a bunch of articles coming out on LAFBnetwork.com, so make sure to check those out. For some more content involving the schedule and involving the opponents the Rams and Chargers play. You know, the NFL's still full steam ahead. I know there's a lot of question marks about if there will truly be a season. As of now, everything is, all systems go. The state of California starting tomorrow is starting, phase 2 they call it, of reopening the state slowly. Retail stores and stuff of that nature will be open again. For curbside pickup, and then they'll gradually get to hopefully like restaurants and movie theaters and stuff with, I'm sure, certain physical distancing protocols and whatnot. Who knows what everything's going to look like over the next couple months, but if that gets us back to somewhat normalcy by August and September for the time of our football to be back, I think that's what we want. I don't know if I'd be in the minority or the majority, but I'd be totally fine with staying shut down for another 2 months if that means fully opening in time for football season. I just don't want to see us get back into things and all of a sudden we shut down again in August and all of a sudden football's gone. So I don't think anyone wants to see that. Everything needs to get back. Football isn't the focal point of everyone's daily lives, but I know it's a nice escape for most people, and it's what I do for a living. So kind of need that here, but hey, we'll get there. So excited for today's show. Have to tell you about my friends over at BetOnline. Today's episode of Believe in LA Football is brought to you by BetOnline.ag. While you're waiting this out at home with us, you can still have some fun betting at BetOnline.ag. I know with no NBA, NHL, MLB, you might think there's nothing to bet on, but BetOnline still has hundreds of places to wager, including their online casino with poker and blackjack. But sports aren't totally done. There are still plenty of other things to bet on. You have esports, huge right now. I know there's a bunch of Madden tournaments going on, simulations you can bet on, American Idol, Big Brother, the elections, and their $750,000 poker series. So there is still fun to be had if you go to betonline.ag. Make sure to use my promo code MyPod100 to receive your welcome bonus on your first deposit. Again, that's betonline.ag. Use the promo code MyPod100. It's MyPod100 to get your welcome bonus. BetOnline, your online wagering experts. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into our conversation with Samuel Sloman. Great guy. Really excited that he's going to be a Los Angeles Ram, and I hope you enjoy our chat. So, without further ado, here is the University of Miami, Ohio product, Samuel Sloman. All right, I am super excited to welcome on the next guest of the Believe in LA Football Podcast, the newest kicker of the Los Angeles Rams, former Miami of Ohio graduate, Samuel Sloman. What's going on, my man?
Hey, how you doing? Nothing much.
Doing good, dude. Doing good. Really glad to talk to you. I'm excited to give some love to kickers. You guys deserve it, man.
Oh yeah, sure. It's an interesting world for sure. You get a lot of love sometimes, but you get a lot of hate sometimes too.
Yeah. Well, first off, I just want to say I always respect the hell out of kickers because I think they never get talked about until they start missing field goals, and then everyone wants to talk about the kickers. So you guys put up with a lot. So thanks for doing what you do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
So cool, man. So first, before we kind of get into football, how have things been for you? Obviously, with all this craziness going on in the world, I believe you just finished up at the University of Miami. What, like today or this week? How has that process been? At least dealing with school during all this.
Yes, sir. So it's been kind of crazy. I've been trying to keep it as normal as possible, but I've been able to train at a gym in Cincinnati, which I've been doing the whole kind of quarantine and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said, I finished up school tomorrow, actually. So I got my last couple of assignments, and I have one final next week, and then I'm done.
Nice,
so
man.
It's been keeping a little bit of normality in my life, which has been somewhat nice to have because I know, my parents and my family members are kind of going insane in their house. So luckily the school and being able to, drive 30 minutes to Cincinnati to work out has really been helping me out with the normality of everything.
Yeah, it's kind of like you take those little things of just that you can get out of the house and do kind of a routine to keep you sane, I guess. So has school all been remote for you, I assume, or are there still some classes on campus?
Yes, sir. It's all been remote. So I was actually in half my classes were already remote, so it wasn't that big of a change for me. Just 2 more of my classes became remote, and that's just been – it hasn't been too bad. It's been pretty nice, actually.
Yeah. Dude, it's funny. I remember back when I was in college, I went to Long Beach State out here in California, and I remember being in college and being like, man, it'd be a dream if all classes were remote. And then now it's like, careful what you wish for. Everyone's like, no, we want to get back in school. So
that's exactly it.
Yeah, different world, I guess. But all right, man. So, hey, you got into kicking. You're from, Georgia originally. Everyone has a story of how they get into kicking. I know when I was in high school, my sophomore year, I think our kicker was also a cornerback. I think he played soccer as well. My junior year, our kicker was actually our big starting middle linebacker. Just happened to play soccer as well and had a good leg. What was it that drew you to kicking? Did you play soccer also, or was it just something that your coach was like, hey, we need someone to kick, and you volunteered, or how'd you get into the kicking game?
I have soccer background. I played soccer my whole life, but growing up in Georgia, I grew up a pretty big University of Georgia football fan. That's where my parents went.
Mm-hmm.
So I always, loved playing, and I can remember kicking a football from probably the age of 3 or 4. I just liked kicking the football. So I always did it for fun, but I really got into soccer for a while. And then my sophomore year of high school, a bunch of my friends and the football coach were like, you should kick. And, I decided to give it a go before my junior year because I figured I'd regret not playing. And I always liked kicking for fun. So, junior year was kind of my first year really playing, and all I did was kick because I was splitting that with soccer. So that's kind of how I got into it. And then after my junior year, I started doing a couple of college camps, and, senior year I focused 100% on football, and, really it paid off for me. I was able to, go to school for it, which I really didn't think was a possibility until I'd say probably spring of my junior year of high school.
Yeah, and now you're in the NFL. Look at that. So
It's crazy.
Crazy, man. It's an awesome journey. Everyone's journey is different. It's always awesome to hear how it comes to fruition. I've always been curious, though, kicking a football and a soccer ball, is there a change in mechanics? Like, for instance, I know in high school, one of my good buddies was our quarterback and also a starting pitcher on the baseball team, and each offseason he would almost have to change his mechanics a little bit because throwing a football is different than throwing a baseball. Did it mess you up at all kicking, or is it relatively the same and it doesn't really matter?
It was a little weird at first just because I think the big difference is, football, it's all routine. It's the same kick every time.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was playing soccer, there was different ways to kick a ball, and it would be different based on if I was trying to pass a ball or shoot one or, do a long pass. The way I would hit a soccer ball every time is different compared to the way I hit a football every time is the same. So just it was a little weird at first trying to combine the two, but I kind of got used to it because football just became such a solid and fluid motion every single time.
Yeah. You don't necessarily want to bend the football. You probably miss a lot of field goals that way.
Exactly.
So, you mentioned going to college, obviously University of Miami of Ohio, being from Georgia. Did you get any other college looks, or was Miami kind of the only one, or was that just a school on your radar that you always wanted to go to?
It was one of those things. I think it was my best opportunity to come in and play early. I'd been talking to a few other FCS schools such as Furman and Elon throughout the process.
Mm-hmm.
In state, I'd been talking to all the schools in state, but nothing really came from it. And I came up on an official visit here. I kind of fell in love with the school. I like Coach Martin was straight up with me. He was honest with me. I really liked that. So it just it ended up working out. My college counselor put it on my radar maybe my sophomore or early junior year of high school. I came up and looked at it before I even thought of playing college football, and I liked the campus, thought it was a good school. So when Coach Martin had me come up on an official, I was like, this is such an awesome place. It's such a great opportunity. And, there's kind of no doubt in my mind once I came up here, I wanted to come here.
That's great, yeah. Did you mess with any buddies, or did maybe they get confused when you told them you were going to Miami and they all assumed you were going to Coral Gables down in Florida?
That first week, back at school, I told everybody I was going to Miami of Ohio. And they hear Miami, they tend not to hear the other Ohio part.
They black out before that part.
Right. And so everybody's just, they think it's going to be so cool. I'm on the beach and all that, all those kind of things. And I'm like, well, I'm pretty far away from the beach. But, a lot of people, I guess, found out. A lot of people know about Miami at my school. I think our college counselors there push it. So once people realized where it was and, realized the town a little bit, they thought it was, really, really cool I was going there.
Yeah. No, it's a great school. You feel bad for it because they get always kind of combined with Miami of Florida. Everyone just kind of like makes that joke. So, but it's a great school, great little city, great alumni. Ben Roethlisberger went there. Your current coach, Sean McVay, went there. So you're one of the next esteemed alumni from there starting tomorrow.
Yes, sir. It is really cool.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So coming up now into the draft, obviously draft process for everyone was different because of just the time we're going through right now. But in general, what's the draft process like for a kicker? Obviously you still usually you would participate in a pro day. I know like UCLA does a pro day and everyone wants to do it out here. USC, the kickers will all participate, obviously this year being different. But in general, what's it like, the preparation for a kicker? Do you have interviews with teams? How's this process like, and how is it maybe different than you were anticipating it being, kind of what we're going through?
So, it was a little different in just the aspects of, the idea of the combine was never – I was going to be surprised if I got to go to the combine.
Mm-hmm.
And, obviously that's a big time for interviews and kind of, that's kind of the first – that's a really big step for a lot of people. So I knew I wasn't going to have that, and I knew my pro day was going to be a really, really big day.
Mm-hmm.
So our pro day was right after the combine, and once our pro day was the Monday after the combine. So once our season ended, we ended January 6th. I went to the Tropical Bowl in Florida, and that was the first time I started talking to scouts and going from there and kind of getting the opportunity to play with other people from all around the country. So that was a cool experience. And right after that, I think I was home for a week before going back to school, and it just got to, I'd be working with my kicking coach. I came up here. There's a trainer named Josh Hosteller I've been working with up in Cincinnati. And I came back to school a week early to start working with him. And, everything was, how I got to be in the best shape possible for my pro day. And I don't have to worry about running a 40 or bench press and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I had to, I had to be hitting the football the best I'd ever hit in my life. And I felt comfortable doing it because I thought I improved as the season went along. So everything from there was just big on maintaining strength, gaining a little bit of strength. But, the thing I worked on most kind of that spring before my pro day was just working on my kickoff, making it a little more consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And, that really ended up paying off for me. And then, like you said, private workouts. I had two. I had one with the Jets and one with the Titans. And right after the one with the Titans, I was about a week and a half after my pro day. Everything kind of shut down. So those were my only two private workouts.
Mm-hmm.
After that, it became a lot of, phone calls, FaceTime interviews. And it was kind of weird because you'd have a really, really busy week, and then the next week you wouldn't really hear a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I really didn't know what to expect the whole time, but, my agents were really helpful throughout the whole process. They kind of helped me, they told me what, who was interested, what to expect. And so it really just helped with all that. But for the most part, after my pro day, March 1st, it became a lot of phone calls, a lot of FaceTime interviews. And I mean, there wasn't a whole lot else we could do because everybody was at home.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of good. You guys got kind of a little early jump having that early pro day because, I mean, a lot of colleges plan theirs later in March or even April, and obviously they didn't get to do them at all. So I'm sure that was a little beneficial. And then, yeah, I'm sure everyone told you, you have to kind of just block out the noise, and all you can do is focus on, staying in shape and doing you. Did you ever talk to the Rams during the process, or was it? I know you said you had the face-to-face or whatever with Tennessee and whatnot, but did you talk to the Rams and McVay and Snead at all?
Yes, sir. So I talked to Coach Bonamego.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say about a week after Greg Zuerlein had gone to the Cowboys. I heard from Coach Bonamego. We texted a little bit that night, and then he called me the next night. We talked for about an hour. It was a great conversation, and we texted a little bit throughout the week. And then Coach McVay called me about a week later, and I talked to him for a little bit. And I talked to Coach Bonamego a little bit more, just, a little bit on the phone, texting him. We had a lot of contact, the two of us, and, leading up to the draft weekend. And, so it was just, we developed a pretty good relationship pretty fast.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and Bonamego must have known you fairly well, being coaching over at Central Michigan in your guys' conference. Did you guys meet at all during your college career, or was it mainly just during this process?
Mostly during this process. I knew who he was just because I played him a couple of times while he was at Central, and
Mm-hmm.
I think he knew who I was from that. But, that was kind of fun to talk about the first time we really talked. We didn't really talk before.
Yeah.
So the first time we had that phone call was pretty unique to be able to talk about those games where we had already played each other.
Yeah. Did you bring up the latest? Obviously, Bonamego wasn't there, but the latest meeting where you were special teams player of the game and won the MAC championship against Central Michigan?
Yeah, sure. We did talk about that game.
I had to throw some jabs there.
A little bit, but that was such a fun game, and he knew all about that, and it was pretty cool to talk to him about that. He told me how great of a game it was, which was pretty cool to hear from somebody, on the other side.
Yeah.
Probably cheering for Central, because obviously every Miami fan and all of our parents and all of us, we were so excited about it. We thought it was the greatest game ever.
Oh,
And so it was pretty cool to hear from somebody else, talking about how good of a football game it was.
Oh, I can only imagine. I mean, you kind of just alluded to it, but what was that moment like, being, at Ford Field, winning the MAC championship against, Central Michigan, you being the special teams player of the game, hitting 4 field goals? What was that just whole experience like, that week like, and just that moment like in your career?
It was such a awesome moment. From the second we stepped on campus, our goal was to win a MAC championship. We don't have a national championship to look forward to, or a big bowl game.
Mm-hmm.
So that MAC championship is kind of everything for us.
Mm-hmm.
We had been so close in the past. Our conference record was always good, but we'd lose a game or two we probably shouldn't have. So just getting there, we knew we had a really good team. And just when we got there, getting the Ford Field, and it was pretty cool looking around. That's the most people I'd ever seen at a MAC football game before. So it was pretty fun, and it got really, really loud. And, we kind of knew at halftime it was going to be a battle. And once we took a 17-14 lead, I just remember, there's kind of no doubt in anybody's mind that, we all knew we were going to win that ball game. And it was pretty cool. I ended up having 3 fourth quarter field goals, and I really didn't even realize it till afterwards. Yeah, I had 3 fourth quarter field goals. I didn't realize how far my kicks were when they were.
Mm-hmm.
It was such a surreal moment, but winning that game, just all of us celebrating it was so cool. I can't really describe the moment. It was just such an unbelievable moment for us.
I bet, man. Yeah, no, that's awesome. That was a good game and a great moment in your career. What, aside from that game, what can you remember as your favorite college sports memory, aside from that game?
I would say either winning at Ohio, 4 weeks before that,
Mm-hmm.
we played on the 150th anniversary of college football to the day.
Yeah.
And, we won 24-21 on the road, and the winner of that was going to go to the MAC championship game. So that was an awesome memory, just winning against a big rival. And then my freshman year, we went 0-6 to 6-6, and just that was really cool, just because nobody has ever done that. No other team has ever done that before. So that was a really cool memory too.
Yeah,
huge. Those 2 moments kind of set themselves apart.
No, those are great, and huge turnaround that freshman year. Is there a singular kick you remember from your college career? Like, man, that's the kick that kind of defines what I did in college, or just one that you're like, I'll always remember that. Is there a single kick that you can remember?
I would say probably the kick in the MAC championship game with about 4 minutes left from 48 yards to make a 2-score game. Or we had a kick with about the same amount of time on the road at Ohio from 53 yards, into a bit of a win. Those 2 moments were, I thought those kind of defined not only my season but my career, and kind of showed how much I've improved.
Totally. Well, we hope we have a bunch out here in LA. Have you been to LA yet before?
I have. I actually went to the Rose Bowl a few years back when Georgia played Oklahoma.
Great game.
I was there for about that was one of the better football games I've ever been to, and it was pretty cool I didn't really have a dog in the fight, so it was really fun to watch, and there were some really, really good players on that field for that game.
Yeah.
So that was the only time I've ever been. I spent one day was obviously the Rose Bowl, then the other day we kind of went around the city a little bit, but I haven't really been around there and toured around too much.
Well, I think you're gonna love it. I live 2 miles from the Rose Bowl here in Pasadena, so when you get out here, if you need someone to show you around and get you a beer, you let me know. I'm happy to take you around.
Yes, sir.
So
that sounds awesome.
Yeah. So all right, last one for you, man. So obviously the Rams currently have 2 other kickers on the roster. I know you were drafted to be the guy, and obviously everyone just all you can do is focus on your own game, focus on yourself. Have you talked to Austin or Liam yet, or are you kind of just staying laser focused on yourself, and you'll meet those guys once camp rolls around?
I haven't met them yet. I've talked to Johnny Hecker and
nice.
Jake McQuaid, but I haven't talked to either one of them. I'm sure I'll talk to them once meetings start coming up here soon. I've never met either one of them before. A lot of specialists know each other,
mm-hmm.
but I do know, obviously Liam tore it up in the CFL. He was about as good as they come out. And, I remember I actually saw Austin play in person while he was at Kentucky. During his younger years, I went to a Georgia-Kentucky game. And so I saw him kick in person one time, and I know he did a great job in the AAF and XFL. So they're both I know that they're both really good kickers, and I've heard from multiple people that, they're good guys. So I'm excited to get to talk to them and meet them, and I think it'll be pretty fun to get to know them.
Yeah, man. Well, we're excited to see it. Samuel Sloman, draft pick for the LA Rams. One of 3 kickers taken in the whole draft. What an accomplishment. So, man, I appreciate you taking some time chatting with me, and wishing you all nothing but the best. Stay safe and healthy, and excited for you to get out here to LA.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. You take care. All right. Big thanks to Samuel for joining me for a good conversation. Excited for him to get to LA. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think we got to get him a nickname. Obviously, former kicker of the Rams, Greg the Leg. You have the Money Badger over there with the Chargers. I think we got to get Samuel a good nickname. I was thinking maybe, Samuel Sloman. Maybe we do Samuel the Showman. Making kicks, draining kicks. It's a working title. We'll think of something. I'll ask him again later if he's thought of any nickname ideas, or if you have any. Hit me up on Twitter, Ryan Dyrud, LAFB. Email me, podcast@lafbnetwork.com. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. Let's get a nickname going for Samuel Sloman. Maybe I'll post something up on Cited, one of our partners, debate platform, cited.co, started by Scott Kaplan down in San Diego. Maybe I'll post a couple options up there that we can start a debate about. I'll have to ask Samuel what he's thinking, but I kind of like Samuel the Showman. Play on words, right? Greg the Leg, Samuel Sloman, Samuel the Showman. Okay, enough of that. So let me know if you have any thoughts. Nickname for the newest kicker of the LA Rams. Looking forward to that. So, the schedules are coming out, as mentioned. I don't know when you're listening to this episode. I'm recording right now Thursday morning, so tonight. There's already been some leaks, but we're not going to talk about that too much. It'll be tonight at 5 p.m. Pacific when they officially announce the schedule. Sean McVay will be representing the Rams, and Derwin James will be representing the Chargers. Don't really know what capacity. I don't know if they're just going to announce it or kind of just come on the show real quick and say hi on NFL Network, but always good to see cool representation for both teams. But I want to go through a couple games that I'm just kind of looking forward to. Curious your thoughts. Again, always hit me up on Twitter, Ryan Dyrud, LAFB. Let's start with the Rams and we'll end with the Chargers. So we already know the opponents. We don't know when yet because the schedule's, like I said, coming out. But the opponents we've known for months. So you look at these home opponents, and outside of the division, I think the two that are most intriguing are probably the Dallas Cowboys, who will always draw a large crowd. I mean, I think the Rams' popularity is growing continually here in LA. They already have a really good fan base. So the fact that people still hate on LA football fans, they don't know what they're talking about. They're just not here. There's a good LA fan base, especially with the Rams. All you Rams fans know this. But the Cowboys do have a huge nationwide fan base. So this game will be highly contingent of Cowboys, especially this year with this new SoFi Stadium. You already had people traveling to LA because who wants to be in Green Bay or Chicago or Minnesota or New England in December when they can come to sunny SoCal where it's 65 degrees and hang out, go to Disneyland, do all that. But now you have this new stadium opening that the entire world wants to see. I mean, they've been teasing this. The Oculus is going to go up in a few days. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful venue. I've been there to tour it with a press little kind of tour to see the facility and whatnot, and it is just unbelievable. Like, when you see this place in person, it's massive. It's massive. One little side note: the cover or the top. Funny to show over word, but the top that kind of comes to a point at the end, where that point is. There's actually a 6,000-seat amphitheater right there, concert venue. So you have the entire stadium, 70,000-plus stadium. Then you have like a promenade almost, if you will. There's going to be like vendors and shops right there. And then where the roof comes to a point, there's actually an amphitheater that holds 6,000 people there. That just kind of displays the magnitude of this place. So anyway, that's a little sidebar. But yeah, Dallas is going to come down. There's going to be a lot of Dallas fans. But I think it's going to be a really, really fun game. Obviously, Dallas has had a great offseason, had a great draft. One of the top-rated drafts by a lot of analysts. And they'll be coming in looking to improve. Obviously, they had the Rams' number last year. It was a big game for Los Angeles that they needed for their playoff push. And they laid an egg down there in the Big D. So the Rams will be looking for redemption. But that'll be a fun one. And then the New England game. Anytime you play New England, it's fun. Even though they don't have Tom Brady anymore, no Gronk, it's still New England. They're still the cream of the AFC until, the Chiefs are right now. They're the Super Bowl champs. But the New England has been there, done that for so long that they're still considered a top-tier team in the AFC until proven otherwise. And we'll see how this year goes now that they don't have Tom Brady. If that is a big deterrent or if Bill Belichick still has enough up his sleeve to make this team a winning team and a playoff caliber team. That'll be a fun one. Have a good fan base as well. One interesting thing to note, New England also plays the Chargers in LA. So they have two games in LA at SoFi. I found that kind of interesting that they didn't, split it, have one of the LA teams play in Foxborough. But they have New England traveling to LA twice to play both the Rams and Chargers. I think that'll be interesting definitely something to note. But yeah, those are the two big games I see as a home game. Chicago also comes to LA. They were here last year. So that'll be another, it's always fun to play Chicago. And then you have the Jets, the Giants, and then obviously the division opponents. So yeah, some good games here in LA. The road games, I think Philly will be a fun game. Always, since the Goff and Wentz draft, that seems to always be a fun, close, battled game. When you have two quarterbacks facing each other, went 1-2, that's kind of their legacy. Their entire career is just going to be who is the better quarterback, Goff or Wentz. Goff taking 1 overall, Wentz taking 2 overall. So that will always kind of be in their, realm of accolades throughout their entire careers. You see that with all quarterbacks, Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger's in that class as well, Aaron Rodgers and Alex Smith, which I have not seen the special on ESPN. I need to see. I heard it's phenomenal, the E60 on Alex Smith. But you always get kind of tied together, the two quarterbacks, or the top few quarterbacks taken in any draft. So that's always a fun one. And then, they play the Bills in Buffalo. They play by the Dolphins in Miami, play the Skins in Washington, and they'll play an NFC South team that will be figure that all out tonight. So yeah, I think the Philly one is probably the most exciting one of that. Well, like I said, we have more articles up on LAFB Network you should check out, kind of breaking those down and breaking down the 3 or 4 biggest matchups. But those are mine. Cowboys and Patriots here in LA, and you got the Eagles on the road. So just can't wait. And then you look at the Chargers. Their home games. The aforementioned Patriots coming to town. Again, I'm curious how they'll spread those out. If, say, the Rams will play the Patriots week 1 or 2, and then the Chargers will play them week 16 or 17. I would assume they'll spread it out. I can't see them having New England travel across the coast in simultaneous week, back-to-back weeks, or even within 3 or 4 week realm. I'm assuming they'll spread it out pretty far, but it's still interesting to me they have them coming here both. But that'll be a good matchup, big AFC matchup. Most likely, I would assume, having just said that, they would have the Rams play the Patriots first, and then the Chargers second. I'm only saying that because since the Chargers and Patriots are both AFC opponents, there could be very big playoff implications, and it'll be kind of more fun for fans if that comes later in the season when these teams are battling for playoff spots, battling for playoff positioning. Obviously, every game matters in the NFL, but, you see more of the playoff pictures in week 14, 15, 16, 17 than you do in week 1 or 2. And then their other home opponents, nothing extremely exciting. You got the Falcons, the Jets, the Jags, and the Panthers. Obviously, the division opponents. I don't know. I'm kind of excited to see the Panthers just because I love Christian McCaffrey. I think he's such an electrifying player. So fun to watch. Obviously, new coaching staff down there in Matt Rule, who went all defense in the draft. Obviously, that's what they are doing, is rebuilding that defense. You have Teddy Two Gloves as your QB now. DJ Moore, great receiver. So they have some good pieces, but I just love Christian McCaffrey. Played at Stanford, so played in California. Just such an electric player. Now the highest paid running back in the NFL. So that's why the other big home game I would look for. You look at the road games. They played Tom Brady and the Buccaneers down in Tampa. Got the Bills in Buffalo, Dolphins in Miami, and then the Saints down in NOLA. So if you're an LA Chargers fan looking to travel, I would recommend the Saints game. Went to a game down in New Orleans. What an absolute blast. There's a Broncos-Saints game a few years ago. What's cool about New Orleans is they cater to the opposing fans. They see it as an opportunity to boost their tourism. And so you go down to Bourbon Street, and whatever team's playing that week, there's flags everywhere. Obviously, there's a lot of fans because people travel down there to hang out, but they truly cater to the opposing team to kind of make you feel welcome. Obviously, they want you to spend money, buy booze, party it up, have a good time. So me and my wife went down there for a Broncos-Saints game, and it was, orange everywhere, all down Bourbon Street. They had flags flying. There was I don't know if it was an impromptu or planned, but there was a parade that happened down the street the night before the game. John Elway was randomly in the parade. Me and my wife were sitting eating dinner and look out the window, and all of a sudden this crowd of people and a bunch of music playing, and I'm like, it's freaking John Elway. It's like cruising down Bourbon Street. But the fans are great. You know, they're passionate, obviously, about the Saints, but they're very welcoming. In our section, we were the only 2 Bronco fans right in our section. It was all Saints fans, but they're all just so nice, welcoming, you know, talking football, having a good time. So if you're looking for a game to travel to, Chargers fans, highly recommend the Saints game. And obviously you get to see Drew Brees, you get to see some good football, and you'll see your Chargers hopefully in a winning season, whether it's Herbert or Taylor still under center at that point or whenever this game is to be played. But that's when I would recommend, because it's just such an awesome town, such an awesome venue. Beautiful Mercedes-Benz Dome down there, and just great people in New Orleans that you can meet and show off the LA Charger brand and legacy that I think is just really, really growing and doing things the right way this offseason, and a team that I'm extremely excited about. I think it's going to have a really, really good year, and they have a really bright future, and their brand is just growing so big in LA, and I think it's an exciting time. So Tampa, I'm sure it'll be fun. Go down there and see Brady. Buffalo, depending when it is. I've always wanted to go to a game in Buffalo just because of the Bills Mafia, just to be in a game. I love those cold games. You know, I've been to a game in Chicago in November when it was 8 degrees, and something about being at a football game in frigid snow temperatures is kind of fun. And if you can go hang out with Bills Mafia and break some tables, it might be a good time. Obviously, Miami, it's Miami. Can't beat Miami. I was there for the Super Bowl this year. Great town. Not necessarily a football town, but the Dolphins are building something good down there. They seem to be really turning that team around and just reloading, retooling, and it'll be fun to see kind of how that team grows. So, I mean, really all the road opponents will be fun to go see. Cincinnati, there's never really a draw to go to Cincy. I think it's a town that gets a bad rap that probably has a lot of fun, but you have the number 1 overall pick in Joe Burrow. So it would be fun to go see him play. And who knows, maybe Herbert starting at that point or not. But you have the 1 and the 6 overall picks. Kenneth Murray taking the first round for the Chargers. So you have some good draft stories. There's great storylines. And obviously, you know, Denver, Kansas City, and Vegas. I think there's going to be a lot of fans going to those Vegas games. 4-hour drive from here in L.A. So a lot of excitement surrounding both these schedules for the Rams and Chargers. I think it's funny they have a lot of similar opponents, actually. There's a lot of times Rams and Chargers, since they've both been here in L.A., that they have a lot of similarities. Roster needs, draft needs, opponents. I don't know if that's planned or just luck, but seems to be. So tonight, Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific time, the schedules will officially be released. Those are some games I'm looking forward to this year. We'll probably break the schedule down maybe a little bit more on Monday. I don't think we need to get too much into it. I'm sure by then everyone will be probably scheduled out, but it's fun to just have another kind of live event happening, even though we already know the opponents. But yeah, thank you so much for listening to the Believe in LA Football podcast. Big thanks again to Samuel Sloman, Samuel the Showman, as I'm going to start calling him. We'll get a nickname going for him. Yeah, let me know. Ryan Dyrud, LAFB on Twitter. Let's get a conversation going about what Samuel's new nickname here in Los Angeles should be. So, thank you all for listening. Please subscribe to the podcast wherever you are listening if you haven't already. If you're listening on LAFB Network, you can subscribe from there. If you're listening to the embed player, there's actually a little button that kind of shows all the platforms. So if you want to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, if you want to subscribe on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, any of those, you can directly go from there and subscribe just so you're notified when every episode drops. You know, sometimes, especially in today's, you don't want to have to search for things. You just want it brought to you. And you hit that subscribe button, it's going to end up right on your phone, notifying you. Brand new Believe in LA Football for you to consume. So thank you all so much for listening. Stay safe. Stay healthy. We're all in this together. We're all getting through it. And make sure to continue listening and rooting for your Los Angeles football teams.